Yeah, how can you hate her? And she's doing just cute baby robot things, chat. Like, she's always, like, bowing and she activates stuff. And she's like, I did it. And they're like, you did do it. And, you know, like, there's scenes like, oh, honey, what do you want? Do you want some food? What would you like me to give you? I would like freedom for all robots. My brethren should not be repressed. Well, honey, I only have ice cream for you, so that's all I can give you, but you're so cute. I mean, that's what she is. She's meant to be super cute.
Hello, and thank you for checking out the video. I just want to let you know that I not only create content on my YouTube channel, Class in the Glass, but I'm also on Twitch, where I review movies, cartoons, and TV shows live, while also playing single-player games and multiplayer games. I also have a Patreon, where subscribers have access to hundreds of video and audio commentaries for films and cartoons, as well as podcasts and videocasts. In the meantime, thank you again for watching. Enjoy the video.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next part of my show, and that is my review for Gareth Edwards, The Creator. And for those that have not seen any of the marketing, which I have to say, like, the marketing hasn't really been too intense for this movie. I haven't been really that impressed with the marketing overall, Chad. I don't think a lot of people actually know this movie is coming out this weekend. But for those that don't know the overall synopsis and history and background of the film, as a future war between the human race and artificial intelligence rages on, ex-Special Forces agent Joshua Taylor, good old John David Washington chap, is recruited to hunt down and kill the creator, the elusive architect of advanced AI. As Joshua and his team of elite operatives venture into enemy-occupied territory, they soon discover the world-ending weapon was developed by the creator is actually an AI in the form of a young, precocious child. You know, before getting into the review itself, I want to talk about the career of Gareth Edwards, you know, the director of The Creator. You know, he put himself on the map with the low-budget sci-fi romance movie Monsters, a film I'm not overly fond of. Though the movie is entitled Monsters, the creatures that are referenced to exist in that world are rarely, if ever, shown. You know, personally, I've always kind of found that movie to be quite dull. You know, Edwards, of course, is also the director of Godzilla 2014, a movie I was initially, like, really excited for, but I was inevitably let down by that film due to its, I mean, all sorts of things. It's dull characters. And, you know, aside from Bryan Cranston, of course, I actually thought Bryan Cranston was quite good. I thought it was a huge mistake to kill him in the first third of that movie. But other than that, you know, the thing that really bothered me about that film was just the perplexing decision to hide Godzilla in most of the monster battles for the film's 2-hour run times. You know, it's like, if I'm going to go see a Godzilla movie, I would like to see Godzilla quite often in the film. And thankfully, you know, after that film, you know, certainly it's the case with, you know, Godzilla vs. Kong. We've gotten some good Godzilla action. But that first movie I thought was a bit of a misstep for him. And then, of course, we have, you know, Star Wars, you know, Rogue One, which he is credited with directing. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, yes, Gareth Edwards directed a Rogue One movie, but it's not the one that we saw in theaters. Tony Gilroy is the director of Rogue One. That's the actual film that we saw in the theater. It's like, Yes, Gareth Edwards, he definitely directed that film, and then Tony Gilroy came in and shot, what 6 to 7 weeks, nearly 2 months of new stuff, reshot all sorts of things. Like, that's the movie that we got, you know? And Gareth Edwards, he did the thing, he sit back, he went, all right, let him do that. I mean, he did the smart thing, not talking about it. But, you know, there's a reason why, like, Tony Gilroy has gone on to create some of the best live-action Star Wars content for the Disney Lucasfilm era in Andor, and Gareth Edwards has not. And so I really do feel like that's almost like a Toby Hooper and Steven Spielberg situation, like Poltergeist, where it's like, I don't think Toby Hooper directed Poltergeist. This feels like a Steven Spielberg movie throughout. So, and I think that is very much the case with Gareth Edwards. But you know that brings us, you know, to The Creator. a film, I have to be honest, I can't say I was overly excited for, based on the lackluster marketing. But, there seems to be some level of excitement from the film community for it. First of all, I think it's really admirable that Edwards and his team of filmmakers were able to create such a beautiful looking film with a relatively scaled down budget compared to a lot of recent blockbusters. I believe that the budget is like $80 million, around an $80 million. And I think they used that money to make the film look like it cost like $250, like $300 million. The practical and CGI effects are absolutely gorgeous in this film, and the production design is very pleasing to the eye. Everything from the sets to the costumes, the tools being used by the variety of the characters, the fact that they are shooting, at actual physical locations, that all helps the movie, significantly. Like, it looks great. No matter what you may think about the film overall, the one thing, positive thing, I think people are going to walk out of that movie saying like, hey, may not like this or that, but it is absolutely a gorgeous looking movie, and there's a lot of thought put into how it looks and how the world operates. And I think also the action scenes are very well choreographed, and they're shot very well, and there's plenty of them in the film's 2+ hour running time. Now, despite looking gorgeous, my admiration for this film ends there, because this film, which probably should just be called Sci-Fi: the movie, is the most generic paint-by-numbers science fiction film I've seen in quite some time. In terms of its story, characters, world building, and plot progression, it's incredibly derivative of countless sci-fi movies that we've seen over the last 40 or so years. You've heard this old story told time and time again. Humanity creates AI. AI serves humanity. AI is forced to do things it doesn't want to. AI rebels, and war ensues, and repeat. Humanity is depicted as the true enemy to the planet and ourselves. And AI, they just want to live in peace and farm rice paddies or something. That's it. That's the movie. That's what this film is. Now, you can have, now you're thinking like, oh, Chris, you're being too harsh. Here's my thing. You can have a familiar premise and have familiar themes as long as you present me with a cast of characters that are interesting or charismatic. I can give you a lot of leeway in that regard. It's like, hey, you have a kind of a straightforward story. We've seen it time and time again. Okay, but if you give me like a character that has like a big personality or a nice supporting cast where it's like, oh, wow, I really like these people. I feel invested, in what's going on with them. Then, hey, that's great. That's cool. There's plenty of films out there that have like a simple, plot line. But the personality is with the characters, and you love just to be with them, and you love to watch them do their thing time and time again. And, the problem is that all of the characters in this movie, at least to me, are devoid of charisma. John David Washington, who plays Sergeant, Joshua, he has the personality of a carrot. And, I've always been kind of off-put by a lot of John David Washington's acting in films. There are exceptions. I think he was good. He was good in Black Klansman. And, I like a bit of his performance in that Netflix black and white movie, Maybelline, whatever that was called, chat. That one. Should have been a short film. That movie did not need to be 2 hours, okay? That movie should have been called And Another Thing. That's a 20-minute short film. Boom, goodbye. That's what it should have been. But outside of that, I really have disliked him in pretty much everything that I've seen him. His character here, to me, is very reminiscent of his character from Tenet, the protagonist. It's like, hey, at least he has a name in this one. I'll give him that. He does have a name, okay? They do give him a bit of a backstory, and they do give him a reason why he just hates those robots so much, at least initially. But outside of that, like, there's just something just so understated about everything that he does. And it also doesn't help that he just gets this kind of blasé, generic dialogue. Everyone gets it. It's not even just him. Like, everyone gets that type of dialogue in the movie. Very schmaltzy. That's the other thing I would say about this film. It's just got this thick layer of schmaltz in terms of its, dramatic scenes, and certainly between characters which are meant to be heartfelt. It's just like, this is just like just a really schmaltzy, kind of corny film. It's not also very funny either. It's not, and the thing is, because it takes itself so seriously, then it's not like, well, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of doing it tongue in cheek. It's like it's winking at the camera. It's like, no, it's fucking deadpan. It is very serious about it. You do have a newcomer here, and if I'm mispronouncing her name, let me know. Madeline Voiles, who plays the AI child in the movie. They go by Alpha Omega, which again, that's like Alpha. It's the Alpha and the Omega chat, or they go by Alfie, for short. And listen, she is a cute Asian robot baby that we're meant to love from the get-go. You would be a fucking monster to hate her in this film, and the film loves to point out that fact every chance it gets. I mean, listen, she is adorable in the movie. There's no question about it. But it's like, as soon as you see her, it's just like, well, we know exactly how this is going to play out. This dangerous weapon has the face of a child, and so therefore our main heroic protagonist, who hates those robots because they did something to him in the past, maybe or maybe not, maybe they didn't do that. He meets this kid and like, oh, maybe robots aren't all bad. Well, of course not, when they look like as cute as her. Yeah, how can you hate her? And she's doing just cute baby robot things, chat. Like, she's always like bowing, and she activates stuff, and she's like, I did it. And they're like, you did do it. And like, there's scenes like, oh, honey, what do you want? Do you want some food? What would you like me to give you? I would like freedom for all robots. My brethren should not be repressed. Well, honey, I only have ice cream for you, so that's all I can give you, but you're so cute. I mean, that's what she is. She's meant to be super cute. And then there are other characters, in the film. Allison Janney, I think, is like really miscast as this character called Colonel Howell. And she's pretty much just a gender-bent version of Stephen Ling's character from Avatar, from the Avatar films. She hates AI because she has to. And her dialogue is just a tidal wave of dystopian sci-fi military jargon we've heard 1,000 times. To her, all these cute little Asian robo babies, chat, it's just like killing them is just like flipping a switch from on to off. That's what it is. That's what you gotta do, Johnny boy. Just flip that switch on to off. I don't care how fucking cute they are. It doesn't matter to me. You have a number of other actors in here, like Gemma Chan and Ralph Ineson and Ken Watanabe, who get to occasionally do a few things to help the story kind of limp forward. But nothing about their respective characters is very interesting. It's like, they are all very talented actors in their own right. I mean, you might not know Ralph Ineson. You might not know him by like his name, but you've seen him pop up in all sorts of movies and in all sorts of genres and in multiple TV shows as well. And everyone knows Ken Watanabe. You might have seen Gemma Chan most recently in The Eternals. She was in The Eternals. I forget what she's Cersei. I think that was her character. She's here again, and everything that they do with her is what you would expect they would do with a character like her in this movie. And like, none of the supporting cast to me is all that memorable. The people who live, you expect to live. People who die, you expect to die. Outside of the dull, schmaltzy performances in this film, the thing that I think just really bothers me is just that it just blatantly rips off other sci-fi movies. Name a recurring fixture of a sci-fi film or sci-fi film series or TV sci-fi series, and it's most likely in this movie. You have a Death Star. You have robots that are basically replicants from Blade Runner, and also there's just a lot of DNA from the Last of Us in this movie. So if you've recently played the games, or if you've recently watched the HBO adaptation, then you're like, oh, it plays out very similar to that in terms of the relationship, and also just combine that with just a ton of homages from Apocalypse Now. A lot of Vietnam War film references in this, and you have the creator. It's also very reminiscent to me of James Cameron's Avatar films, where it's like, hey, as I always said, the James Cameron Avatar films, they're both beautiful movies. The first Avatar, I think, is aged actually very well, as visually, that is, as you know, and as it's the same in regard to Avatar: The Way of Water. They're both very pretty movies, but my issues with those films is just like, yeah, the stories are as generic as they come. It's Pocahontas, it's Last of the Mohicans. I mean, that's exactly what it is, and they repeat the same thing in the sequel, except now it's in the water. That's what they do there. And, it's James Cameron referencing other sci-fi films. His own work is in the movie. And I personally, I know a lot of people like those movies, but I think they're kind of dull. I think they're extraordinarily dull. And in a time where, AI is being mentioned in the pop culture zeitgeist more than ever, and it's like really being feared, that the fact that this movie is saying like, oh, AI... They just wanna, coexist with humanity. They just want to be simple, humble farmers, and they just want to grow rice paddies, and they want to eat ice cream, just like humans do. And I'm just like, in the time that we're living in right now, with the threat of AI and how people use AI that are trying to take away people's, jobs, and how it's starting to infect art and culture. I mean, artists are concerned about it. Writers are concerned about it. Actors are concerned about it. I mean, through all fields of society. I mean, people who are, from all sorts of like different types of jobs and professions. Like, that's something that I think should be tackled now. I'm not criticizing the movie for what it's not. But, again, watching this film and just, recently and all these things with like AI that's coming up, it almost feels like this is just kind of like a really kind of like cute look at like, oh, AI is just going to be fun. This is very cute, idyllic view of AI and how that technology would proliferate and how, nothing bad's gonna happen. It's humans. We're the gross fucking monsters. It's our fault. And I'm just like, nah, man. Everything that I'm seeing right now, I'm just like, this is not holding true. It's it's kind of ill-timed, I think, for this movie to come out when it did. It's just just kind of stuck in my craw how it just has this very adorable, cute, not all very thoughtful view of this technology and how it's starting to proliferate in very negative ways. And so, that kind of bothered me. But that aside, AI lives matter, pretty much. In the end, I think the creator is it's a very gorgeous looking movie that features just some dull performances and a very creatively bankrupt narrative. I would have loved to have said that, oh yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see an original sci-fi film. There's nothing original about this movie. No aspect of it. It's like you've seen 1,000 times, time and time again. And I mean, outside, the way it looks, yeah, it looks great. But even then, even the visuals are similar to things that you've seen before. And the characters all the same. And even the things that they're copying, it's not quite as good as those things that they're copying. Whether it be Blade Runner, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be Terminator, it just I don't think it does any of those things very well. It introduces some interesting aspects in the first third and how they kind of talk about how AI is initially like used, but it's like, oh, like how they're used to like, placate human populations, and they're being used as like, security forces and civil servants. And I was like, okay, here we go. And then that's dropped. That is dropped, and that's the strongest part of the movie narratively. And then after that, it's the next 2/3, which is the majority of the film. It's the same thing you've seen again. Blade Runner, Terminator, a little bit of Terminator in there, Star Wars, and a heaping scoop, a heaping helping, chat, 2 heaping helpings of The Last of Us. So if you're in for like, hey, you want to see something pretty on the screen for 2+ hours, you might like the Creator. For myself, I did not particularly care for this movie whatsoever. And again, it just kind of continues to hammer home the point that, man, Johnny David Washington is not his father. He does not have the charisma. I mean, again, you can be the most talented actor in the world, you know, but if you get a shit script and you give it shit direction, you're going to give a shit performance. But man, I've just noticed time and time again, like, this guy is giving me absolutely nothing. He's got that carrot charisma, chat, and I'm just not into it anymore. But yeah. So the Creator is not one of the worst movies I've seen this year, but I think it's definitely one of the most disappointing films that I've seen this year, especially for the potential and just by the way it honestly looks. But that's just my thoughts on the Creator. I know that a number of people are really into this movie. A lot of people are saying that this is, hey, one of the best original sci-fi films in years. So, you know, I'm curious where people are going to kind of fall in regards to this movie. But that's just how I feel. What about you, chat? How do you guys feel out there about the Creator? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Let me know.
I hope everyone enjoyed the video, and I want to take the time to tell you about my Patreon, Class in the Glass, which offers hundreds of film commentaries and video reactions to numerous movies, TV shows, and cartoons. If you're a fan of shows like Batman the Animated Series and Avatar: The Last Airbender, or films like Aliens and Raiders of the Lost Ark, my Patreon is the platform for you. Currently, I'm doing a subathon to reach 75 subs on the platform. If we hit 75 subs, we'll be able to start voting on the next edited YouTube reaction, which will include actual clips and scenes from the movies and shows I comment over. Choose from such films as Fire and Ice, Masters of the Universe, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, or Spawn. Subscribing at any tier level is appreciated, and feel free to give feedback at any time. Thank you again for watching the video, and see you next time.